Been waiting a long time for this moment. I will explain the reasons why I took the measures that I took. First, I want to say that there's a lot of fake news out there, and I'm going to call Flagler lies fake news. Because the majority of all this tonight was because of misinformation shared, because I never asked for all those books to be pulled. I asked for one book to be pulled. So if you want to silence someone and spin an agenda, political agenda, then you make sure that the whole world thinks that they don't like black people or anybody from the LGBTQ community. And then you have a fire that goes rapid. And I'm here to say that my dear friends and family that are of color and in the LGBTQ community, as well as the past students, some of them in this room that I've taught, were appalled or would be appalled to hear the things that have been said about me because Flagler lies spun information and it went viral, even to the point that that video, Ms. Conklin, that you played tonight on Twitter, at the end of that video, that author threatened me, and that was turned into the police by saying, finish her, finish her. And I'm not on Twitter, but lots of people sent it to me. So you can shake your head and laugh all you want, but lots of people sent it to me, and lots of people, including myself, sent it to the sheriff. And also had people say, and no matter what that means, has that person had a following to be able to say, to not able to control all that following's actions, just like tonight, all Republicans or all conservatives or all people that believe one side of this issue are all rednecks and they're all out there badgering the kids. I will, if I saw someone talking inappropriately to these children, to these teens, Mama Bear would have been out. I was in here, but I have advocated for children and children that didn't have advocates my entire career. My entire career. I taught kids that were from foster homes, not only foster homes, but they were from homes like over in the land where they're all in homes. They were thrown away by society and everyone, and I advocated for those kids and had some of them mainstreamed. So I'm sorry. The book, I don't have a problem with. The author, I don't have a problem with Johnson's color or Johnson's LGBT. He calls himself queer, or it's not he. I'm old school, excuse me. Johnson calls them queer. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with any adult writing a book and telling their story. I want to tell you something. I have a story, and I don't tell it. But I think tonight I'm going to tell just a little bit of it. Just a little bit. And the story I'm going to tell you just a little bit is this white person that gets labeled privileged grew up in an extremely abusive home. Let me just tell you that this person right here was abused by their own father. And you know what nature does, or God does, or your psyche does? It has you repress that memory. And do you know what a book like the one that we're talking about does to someone that has repressed a memory? It's a trigger like no trigger has ever been known before, that takes professionals, not a book in a media center. that's read on their own. It takes professionals and years of hard work to get over your father abusing you when you're a child. So don't, people think like I've not been around the moon before. I can tell you more too. And I raised myself up and was the first one to get a college degree in my family and made something of myself. And I think I turned out to be a pretty decent human being, even though the media doesn't think so. So don't talk to me about trauma. I could go on and on and on as what I suffered as a child. I could write a book that would make you feel uncomfortable to read it. But that's not the way to go about things. You know how I remembered about my abuse as a child? As someone called me to tell me that that person was going to abuse my sister. So the memories came flooding back. You want to talk about suicide? Yeah, that'll bring suicide tendencies out in someone. So I get it. I get everything that's been talked about tonight. What I don't get is why we have school board members and attorneys that don't want to follow the law. That somehow they think that we can just keep pushing things, and if we don't agree with something, then we don't have to follow it. There's ways to change the law. There's ways to change the law, but ignoring it is not the way. So I'm going to explain to you what happened. I was on my internet, on my phone, relaxing in my bedroom. I saw a video of this book. It disturbed me. I said, surely that is not in our libraries. I didn't go seeking out books of queer black males. I happened to just Google the book, and it was in our library, and it disturbed me. It was in Destiny. It was still cataloged in Destiny, which means they're in circulation. So then I, being an intelligent person who tries to reason about fake news, unlike most adults the past couple of weeks, don't seem to be able to determine if something's true or not. Even school board members run with false narratives from a local blog and then write out about their peer to the fake news local blog. Isn't that something? So I decided, I Googled the book, I Googled the author, I found that book on a list called Project Lit that was created by a man in Tennessee. And his list, as he says, is a list of edgy books. And in a video that explains how he came up with this list, he tells other teachers that they ask him in this interview how he gets those books past administrators and gets them in his classroom. And he says you just keep doing it until you get in trouble. Now that's a big red flag for me. So then I took not a book, not a list that somebody sent me. I didn't even know we had that list from June that got sent out. I looked at his list and I searched in Destiny, and I came up with 3 other books that were in his list of edgy, keep pushing till you get in trouble books. And I took those 3 books, and I Googled them, and they were banned all over different places in the country. I took that information to the superintendent and the school board attorney and said, that's all I knew about the books after I had talked about All Boys Aren't Blue. I mentioned those books, gave them the titles and the authors, and said, I don't know anything about the books. This is what I know. And I told them what I just told you. And so I just said, someone needs to check them. I didn't make any judgment. I didn't do any research on them. I had no idea. But the one book, I did have an idea. And my words to them, the superintendent and the attorney, was that in my research of the state of the statutes, this is a crime of a felony of the third degree. Now, if you have a school board member come to you and say that this book appears to be criminal, I don't think you don't call that school board member or give them any information on your investigation. I don't think that you take that information of a possible crime and you form a little literary committee to have them investigate whether they believe if this is a crime or not. No, you treat it as a possible crime. And then if it's not a crime, then you can go to the next step and you can put it for a committee and let the committee choose, and I'm all for processes, whether that book belongs in the school system or not. I have my personal feelings. We could go, but first I need to know if it's a crime. And then I need to know if the people of this county want that book. And what I know I wasn't going to allow to happen, and I will never let anything I know happen this way, because I don't work for anyone up here on this dais. I work for you and for your children and for the families of this county. And people said, why didn't you care about the mask mandate? Because it wasn't a cause I would die for. This is a cause I will live and die for. Because according to the state statute, when I read the state statute that says that school board members were responsible, when someone tells me I'm responsible, I hold myself accountable. That's the problem in this country, is people don't hold themselves or anybody else accountable. I hold myself accountable. It said I was responsible for the materials. Then I looked up on that, it gave a link to 847. And link 847 is the chapter, 15-page state statute on obscenity. And I also know that there's a Miller test. And for the Miller test, that it has to fit 3 categories. So the 3-prong test, well, first, it describes all the definitions of what obscenity is. So obscene means in state statute, and you can't meet just A, you can't meet just B, you can't meet just C. You have to meet all 3 for a work to be considered obscene. So I'll just tell you up front, in my mind, this book meets all 3. But I'm not an attorney. That's why I went to my attorney. I've since then sought private attorney counsel because I don't feel I can trust my counsel. So the average person applying contemporary community standards would find, taken as a whole, appeals to the prurient interest. Well, I had to look up that word because that was a big word for me, and the answer is yes. B, depicts or describes in a potently offensive way sexual conduct as specifically defined herein. So sexual conduct. Now, here's the sexual conduct. Deviant sexual intercourse. I looked up what that meant. It's in the book. Sadism. I looked up what that meant to make sure, and it's in the book. Sadomasochistic abuse. I thought, well, isn't that Sodom, the root word I'm thinking? I looked up what that meant, and it's in the book. Sexual battery, that's explained in the book. Sexual conduct, that's in the book. Sexual excitement, that's in the book. Specific sexual activities, that's in the book. Harmful to minors, in my opinion, absolutely. So I'll put a big yes by that. And the letter C is the one that probably is the most iffy, but in my study and in my private counsel with a private attorney, it says, taken as a whole, which means the whole, which means you can't pull out just chapters 11 and 15. Chapters 11 and chapters 15 definitely answer A and B, but you can't just pull out stuff. It has to be in the whole. It says, taken as a whole, lacks serious, which is a key word here, serious literary, artistic, political, and scientific value. So what is serious literature? It's not an award because of the cover, which is a very eye-catching, colorful, great cover on that book. They won an award for the cover. It's not because it was voted best liked by kids on Amazon. All those lists of things that were read earlier today are not literary awards. And they're definitely not serious literary awards. So to be a serious literary, have serious literary value, it has to have won awards for the literature part of the book, and it has to have had value determined over time. That's why some of these other books that people have talked about, the controversy about banning them, they have serious literary value because they've been around forever and ever and ever. So the state statute says serious literary value, and it's defined as over time. So in my mind, a crime had been committed. That it was criminal that we had 3 schools with books. I also checked out the book at the public library. And because I have a past that I've already explained to you, I couldn't read the book. It was extremely disturbing to me. The first few chapters I could, and let me just tell you, I feel horrible. I have nothing but empathy and compassion for George Johnson. I wish that everything didn't get so messed up and I could have a conversation with him. Because we're more alike than we are different. But the media ruined that, didn't they? And then I was scared because I was threatened, yes. So, it is prohibited to have that. So that prohibited means, and a crime in my mind, then it needed to be investigated. So the next day, I came up to my weekly meeting and revealed what I knew to the superintendent and the school board attorney, and they were shocked, and they assured me it would be taken care of. I told them that I believed it was a felony and a crime. And I was assured it would be taken care of. 6 days later, I hadn't heard anything. Nothing. I'm a constitutional officer that believed that there was a crime situation in 3 of our schools. And then also the Parent Bill of Rights say, letter J, the right to be notified promptly if an employee of the state, any of its political subdivisions, any other governmental entity, or any other institution suspects that a criminal offense has been committed against his or her minor child. That's me, and our students are minor children. Unless the incident has first been reported to the law enforcement of the Department of Children and Families, and notifying the parent would impede the investigation. So I had to report it. So I knew about it before I reported it to the superintendent and the attorney, but because I was taking time to do my due diligence to make sure I wasn't making a lot of drama. So then I report it, and I'm told it will be taken care of. And not only was it not taken care of, but the other school board members weren't alerted that there was a possible crime. Do you know that every time a child threatens another child or a teacher or something, we get a text message from the superintendent's office, all of us, that this is going on, like red alerts? We get those. I expected that to be a red alert. And it wasn't. And my school board members weren't told, and I had just previously to that, in a workshop talking about our policy and procedures, said emphatically that I had been blindsided as a board member several times and that it needed to stop. So now I have presented information that I believe my peers were going to be blindsided with. And what is the purpose of sitting on that information? It makes me wonder. So I got scared, and I lost trust. And you don't get there in just one instant. You get there over a year of being on the board where you lose trust. I did not trust that it wasn't going to be secretly taken care of through the curriculum department, or the books secretly taken out, and that we weren't going to have. I still don't know. It's interesting that people from the audience say that the book was never checked out of Buddy Taylor Middle School. I've never gotten that report. I would love to have heard that report. That would have been really great news. But the superintendent nor the school board attorney gave me that report. So how did other people have that report? That's the stuff that's happening to the school board, and I think that's kind of like, I'm just going to go out there. That's like gaslighting. I'm done. Because I'm here for the kids, and if there's a crime and there's books that are criminal in our media centers, I am here for them, and I am to protect. We had to get those out fast so that not another child would read. And by law, if this is considered a crime, then we have to make sure that the parents know that a crime was committed against them. And you know that if a kid sticks out, I had a friend tell me that their child had heard about that book. They'd never checked it out, but they sure have heard about it. What about you guys in the room? Anytime somebody had a Playboy, did the rest of the boys see it, or did they just keep it to themselves? Did they have to break somebody's arm or twist their arm to get them to want to see it, or did all the guys suddenly want to see it? And if one person checked it out, that doesn't mean, and just because it was never checked out doesn't mean no one read any of it. We do pick books up and go through them to decide if we want to read them or not. So I came to the and I don't trust the system in that there's been a hit piece on me for months, that as soon as anything controversial or two-sided happens, Flagler Lies gets the information, like lickety-split on either me or Miss McDonald. It's happened all year. All year. We're the targets. They're angels. And even the minute that I had a public record request like 5 minutes after I sent an email. That's unbelievable that he would know to ask for a public record for an email 5 minutes after I sent one. That's just amazing, isn't it? So my gloves are off. I'm done. The people of Flagler County, whether this book is criminal or whether this book is decided by a committee not to be in the schools, or whether this book is decided to be in the schools, the process will take care of that. I follow the law. I believe in the process, but I believe you have to do the process. You just don't cover things up or let it sit around because you don't want word to get out. Well, guess what? Word got out because I wanted word out. Because the people in this county can take that information. Either it's a crime, okay, say it's not a crime. Either the committee decides yes or no, it should be in our school, whatever, but at least the parents. And I'm tired of parents that are involved with their kids getting punished because of the parents that aren't involved with their kids. You talk about marginalized. So that the parents in this county know what the school system is so that they can make choices. So that they have all the information, not just little bits and pieces. Because I'll tell you what, I was a teacher in this county for 29 years, and I came to school board meetings, and that's one of the reasons I ran for school board, is because I saw the gaslighting going on to the school board members. Because we only get we can't talk to each other, but the district office can. They can talk to each other all day long. We can't talk to each other. We only get what they tell us, when they want to tell us, and how they want to tell us. So now you know the real story. And I will live or die for the safety and well-being of every single child in this county. Thank you.